celebrate you in your way. Celebrate you in your way, which was the actual book with Steve Kidd, my good buddy. Definitely legendary. And you just meet those people in life, and God causes you to cross paths with those people who have kindred vision and a kindred spirit. Yeah, we have a lot in common, and I think that's very important because it's all about the power of collaboration. And if I can kind of give you a little backstory before permission, I've lived most of my life in media. Before I ever became a manager or a CEO, like I was managed before. I've been a part of multi-million dollar deals. I've seen how the infrastructure of conglomerates and big companies like Universal and I watched from the background in production and media and just seeing, watch the movers and shakers. You have to, in order to be one of the best, you have to learn from the best, right? And we started off doing production in major movies like The Johnson Family Vacation, which featured like Steve Harvey and people like that, and Waist Deep. And, I got my start really in modern drum magazine. Things started to blow up in my early 20s, and it was conducive to my passion, right? Passion. And at PME, before we go any further, um, we believe in creating hope through arts, love, business, and entertainment. And we actually expanded it from its original origin, which was creating hope through arts and entertainment. But we'll talk about that a little later. And we believe in empowering people, changing lives. That's right. Empowering people, changing lives. That's what it's about. And we've been featured in magazines like Forbes. Before there was a Forbes feature, before there was ever a GQ feature, we really built our way up and built good relationships. And that's what we really would like to talk to you about. And we believed in becoming the why, becoming the brand, be the brand, become the brand. That's what we believe in. And I'm just grateful to connect with like-minded individuals like Steve Kidd. And as I said in my earlier life, I'm giving you the condensed version, like a synopsis of it's been just a crazy journey and a journey of resilience and having to be able to recover and leverage every moment, whether it be good or bad. And stand in the media's place, and at times I tried to run from the media, but when you really attach and align with your purpose, your God-given vision and purpose and mission in life, the media is going to follow suit and bring about a service to people. And it's just a lot of humble beginnings and being able to run workshops and places like Kaohsiung, Taiwan, Japan, and Manila, Philippines. This was all before this, like pre-Pure Mission Entertainment. And I'm glad. I mean, I ran into a lot of media. I've had my little meltdowns where I didn't want to be bothered with a lot of media. I remember a time, God rest my mom, rest in heaven. I remember a time when the media was always banging on the door. And I had to realize that it was essentially because there was no one doing that in that particular demographic in my hometown. And so I had to learn to leverage that and get used to that and stay the course, stay the course. And so we're here now. And that's what Never Stop Winning is about. And, I built this from the grassroots. And before there was any media, we really enjoyed the foundational pieces of PME, and we're visionaries over here. You have to be a good visionary, and we really compounded that why and defined our why, and as they would say, became experts in our own niche and finding that niche, which was arts and entertainment. And now it's love, arts, business, and entertainment. But I don't want to get too far ahead. And you know, teamwork space to dream work. I've seen what it looks like, and you have to have definitely a good team behind you, a machine behind you, and learn all those compartments, learn those pieces. I'm glad I had a publicist, but I don't want to get ahead of myself. That's pretty much who I am. And 10 times, as he said, 10 times number one global best-selling author and, chart topping recording artist, motivational speaker, Maxwell leadership Is influence, as John Maxwell would say. So this was all about influence to begin with, and really not about the money alone. So that's really, an introduction to who I am, and let's just say a lot of humble beginnings, a lot of humble beginnings and offering timely insights and commentary on trending topics without losing our souls. And we said, if I can actually start the foundational pieces of permission, this was in a moment of prayer and meditation where God told me to, um, start a company. I didn't know what the name would be, but I knew what my passion was, and I think it starts there. When you agree, Steve.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it started with the why and the passion, and I believe the passion leads to our purpose, and we've never divorced that why, and we branded our why. You know, I think it's one thing to find the why and discover that, and some people don't know that. It's just figure out what you're passionate about, and God will show you that, and find out what you're good at, and you never divorce that, and you're always going to be cultivating that. There's going to be some turbulence. There were people who died in the midst of me having to show up for photo shoots and get on planes, and friends of mine who got killed, and cousins found in the backseat of cars. People look at the charts and magazines, but they don't know the internal nuances sometimes, right, Steve? That there's a backstory to everything, and that's what we're about at Pure Mission, though. That's pretty much my deal, and I learned from the best marketers. I saw what they were doing and decided, hey, we can eventually do it ourselves and build a team centered around that and show others how to do it. And you get to outsource and outsource the market, know what the market's looking for, know what the market has, and know what the market doesn't have. And let me say this: this is important. This is all the foundational pieces of permission. Leonard Skinner, you guys know the song "Sweet Home Alabama." My buddy Stephen Rich, he discovered me through email, and he liked this song called "Sunshine with the Rain." And one of my clients, Arthur Flash Johnson's a four-time boxing Olympic boxing champ, and good singer too as well. And I invited him onto this record, and we recorded this record under high pressure. And speaking of backstories, and then eventually he took over the records. He liked the sounds of the music, and I can recall him on the next record, which was actually officially released through Pure Mission Entertainment, our very first charitable record, and we decided that we wouldn't just have a fancy topic, a fancy title, Pure Mission Entertainment, and a fancy vision and mission. So here was our opportunity. So my president brought the opportunity. Hey, no one's talking about Hurricane Maria and the victims that passed. It was, kind of in the same time frame uh, as the company. And this was an opportunity. He said, I need you to write a song and get various artists together. So once we searched the market, like I was telling you earlier, we saw what wasn't being said, and we saw an opportunity to be authentic. Authenticity is key. We believe in that here. And I can recall the Leonard Skinner member, and he managed the Eagles too. I know you guys heard of those groups, and I recall him saying to me, he said, "This song, We Love You, Puerto Rico, you need to hurry up and get this out before someone else does." And it's and no one's really talking about it in the news media. He said, "If you do this song, Willie, this is going to set you apart from every other artist and entertainer." So, no, that's the beginning, the foundational pieces of it. And let's just say the rest was history. He said, start overseas and I'll shop your music over here and you're in Europe, and we'll bring it back over here. And he studied the sound. And I think that's an important thing. Don't come in like you know it all. I could have said, no, I'm in the USA. We're going to start here, right here where we are. No, but I think I'm going to listen to someone who's probably sold over, was part of a group that sold over like 40 million records. I think I'm going to listen to. I think he knows a little something, right? So I think it starts with that, right, Steve? Too. It's who do you listen to? Who you tune into? Les Brown said, "Who you tune into, you become. Who you tune into," and I believe you become the company you keep. So we humbled ourselves. I said, okay, let me listen to this guy, Grammy chairman. So I said, okay, I'm starting off. fresh starters and not new to the industry, but new to entrepreneurship on this level of branding in a mainstream industry. Our vision was to keep independency but make mainstream noise. That makes sense, Steve?
Yes,
Keep
it
it
absolutely does.
right. And he was right. We prayerfully considered what he was saying and implemented a game plan. I think it all starts with that. You know, the product. You can have the dopest song, the most awesome song, but if the right people aren't behind it, and you have the missing pieces in marketing, you're only as strong as your marketing. So, you know, what I did was I studied the marketers, but they were doing at Universal and Warner Brothers, build relationships with these people who made millions of dollars. And I was like, oh, that's what they're doing. And just become a sponge and learn from the managers and learn from the publicists. And we hired, see, this is what people don't know. In the beginning piece, we hired a publicist because, I mean, yeah, I was in media, but I didn't really know how to publicize such a project as a Hurricane Maria and a We Love You Puerto Rico too. So I think it's about being humble enough to say, hey, I have this piece here, I have this piece here, but these are the missing pieces. And we implemented the game plan, and lo and behold, boom, Broadway World picked us up, hit the charts, number three, number two, twice, top 200 European charts, and we brought it over here to the US. And New York really showed the biggest love in the beginning pieces. Broadway World, New York Forbes edition with Michael Dell computers, and just the risk is crazy. Will Smith issue around the Oscar time. We won't get around, you know, into what happened there.
Hmm.
But relative, right? Staying relatable and timing and alignment is key, and not allowing that ship to pass you by. So this is your moment, you that are tuned in now. And we had you in mind, me and Steve. And I look forward to diving even deeper into the nuances of what it takes to become an industry influencer and to stay in demand, high demand. And those are the
Absolutely.
foundational pieces. I could have elaborated a little more, but I want to hear from Steve about momentum. That is what we thrive on, moments and momentum. And little did I know when me and Steve met, Rattle the Wake one is when I met him through Lonnie Ray and met them around the same time. And Steve, I don't know, he had this contagious energy and it was just like my big brother. And I said, hey, man. And, I said, said what is the secret sauce behind that becoming a number one international bestseller? And he never really promised that, right, Steve? You never promised that. You just said bestseller. You know, you have to do the work, put in the work, and let God give the increase, right? Sow, water, plant, and do what you do. But momentum is what really, attracted me to him and his spirit. He believed in what I believe in. It's one thing to get in a piece of media, and you have to really build relationships, not appear confident. You know, there's a way to be humble and confident simultaneously at the same time. And what
Hmm.
we don't know, right? Yeah, I had been used to being number one in the LA Wire and LA Weekly and New York Wire and the fastest growing company. We became that in maybe our third or fourth year, which is pretty cool. Usually they say 3 to 5 years. The first 5 years are horrible in business, but that really wasn't the case. But we had some rough spots. We'll get into that later. But when you say, Steve, the congruence or the dichotomy between succeeding and winning in any form of media would be one's momentum or
Oh
winning the
yeah,
game.
absolutely. I mean, it's the motion of the momentum, that gets us from where we're going to where we need to be going.
Yeah.
Nothing happens by accident, not really. There's an old saying that says, if you aim at nothing, you'll probably hit it. Um, I mean, there's another old saying. I mean, I'm just full of old sayings. If you aim at the moon and you only hit the stars, you'll still be way out in space with, beyond where others have reached. But if you only, want to try to reach the top of your house, you may not be able to even dunk a basketball, And it's so true. You've got to start where you are, but then start building line upon line, thing upon thing.
Yeah.
There's the old saying, and I'm going to say lots of old sayings,
Hmm.
but it's easier to move a moving car than it is a parked car. And if any of you have ever been stuck on the side of the road or in a driveway or whatever where the car won't start, it takes so much energy to get that car going to begin
Yeah.
with. But after you get moving, unless you have to go uphill or things like that, I mean, you can pretty well just, stand next to the car and just kind of keep it rolling. And
Yeah.
that's what momentum is. I remember a
Yeah.
coach telling me a long time ago, it starts out, you put in 10 units of energy to get out 1 unit of success. And
Yeah.
eventually you build to the place where you can put in 1 unit of energy to get out, 10 units of success from each 1 unit of energy. But it all
Yeah.
starts, I mean, we've all been there. We've all felt like we're an outsider,
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
nobody in your immediate circle, nobody but those in your immediate circle really understand the value that you bring. Um,
Yeah.
Maybe you've even tried it and you've had limited success and you're wondering, what am I doing wrong? And
Yeah.
so the
Yeah.
question about whether you're media ready or is something we're going to address today. But I want to hit this last piece on this particular slide really hard, and that's good enough to be featured. You absolutely are. You could go out right
Yeah.
now today. You are uniquely brilliant. There
Yeah.
is a purpose you were created for, and the
Yes.
world needs you to be exactly you. We don't
Yeah.
need another Oprah. We've got an Oprah Winfrey. And I can't tell you how many times I've been in conversations with people who want to be the next Brene Brown, the next Oprah Winfrey, the next
Yeah.
John Maxwell, whatever. And I always encourage
Yeah.
them. It's like, no, I want you to be the first you.
Yeah.
Be the you that is you to make
Yeah.
the difference that only you can make so that
Yeah.
you can find your voice.
Yeah.
Now, voice is an acronym: vision, optimize, impact, connect, and expand. And we're going to spend a little bit of time here over the next few minutes, just kind
Yeah.
of going into each one of those in detail because it's from those 5 things that you are going to make the impact that
Yeah.
you are meant to make and find your voice. So, with that, let's jump right into V for vision. Vision, see the future before it happens. Willie and I are both ministers, and so a few
Yeah.
Bible verses may pop out here on you. That's okay. They have great principles, regardless of your belief system. But
Right.
there's a verse that says, "Without a vision, the people perish." You've got to see, um, you know, your belief is what brings, is what drives the result. You have to be able to see it clearly in your mind. And I don't care who you talk to, whether it's Tony Robbins, John Maxwell, any of the biggies will talk to you about, envisioning where you're going before that. And that all starts with your passion. Your passion is what's going to drive your purpose. You got to know who you are. You got to know why you are. And then what is the purpose for that passion that is you? What are the things that you do? I love this story. Because when I was little, I've always been a huge giver. And I remember I must have been about, oh, I don't know, 6 or 7, just real early in elementary school. And some organization came to the door and they were collecting money. And of course, pastors' kids typically we don't have money anyway. But I was so excited when they got there because I had a quarter and I said, "Hold on a second." And I ran into my room and I grabbed the quarter and I came back and I said, "This is all I've got, but I'm so excited to get to be able to help your organization out." And I think they probably gave me a bookmark or something like that. I don't remember if there was a gift. It wasn't about that. It was about that basic passion of who I am, of wanting to give to people. And so You need to be at that place where you know that vision. You know it well enough you can write down your vision in one sentence. Willie, before we move on to the next letter,
Yeah.
say a little bit about vision.
Vision is everything. That's good stuff, Steve. And I definitely was thinking about the passage from the wise King Solomon. He said, "Without a vision, the people perish." And you know, and my people perish for lack of knowledge. But knowledge and wisdom and your dreams. I like to think of our dreams, our goals, our company. It's almost like a body. It's like the anatomy of it. It needs a set of eyes. Your vision is your set of eye, and your wires filter through that vision. Imagine you trying to drive blindfolded, right? You're kind of growing nowhere fast, right? You're susceptible to crashing, and I think that really comes with harnessing that vision and having tunnel vision and being able to see the beginning, with the end in mind. At PME, we would begin with the end in mind. And of course, God always does exceeding abundantly above all we can ask or imagine or think, right? But use that imagination to see the end. If you're at the startup, like Steve said, and I think that's important to know that your vision matters, that your vision has value, and that there's no little Y's or big U's. But you'll never be able to outdo your mindset. I think vision and mindset goes together, and without that vision being defined, your company or your project, it it can't go too far because the vision really determines the length and the distance of your destiny. You know,
Yeah,
and
for sure.
you never divorce that. Keep that vision and make it clear, as you were saying.
Yeah.
And yeah, and expand it when it's necessary.
So take just a second, because I want this to be active. I always love to do my master classes in a way so that people walk away with something substantial. So I want you to take just a minute here, and I want you to write down, make it clear to yourself. You're the only one that has to read it. You're the only one that has to understand it. So you can use any shorthand, about the blah, 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 kind of thing. But I want you to take a minute here, and I want you to take a key message that aligns with your expertise, your mission, your vision for who you are. What would that be? What is your vision? Where do you see yourself? Doesn't need to be long. It could be something really simple. I remember, somebody was asking me, what would your perfect day look like? And I told him, I said, well, really, most of my perfect day just starts out being with and being married to somebody that I really love, that I know loves me, and then getting up and going out and starting into my day, and doing the things that we do at the beginning of our day, but then spending that time, really pouring out. I'm in a real writing space right now. I'm about halfway through a second book that I've written in the last 3 days. Um, no pressure for the rest of you. You don't need to do that, but it's about that, seeing that day and then being able to live as though it's coming versus living as though it's not ever going to happen. So with that
Yeah,
said, let's move on to O. O is optimize. I love the word optimize. It's optimistic.
yeah,
How do you position yourself for the spotlight? And part of optimize is credibility. That's why I work on bestsellers. I've been a marketing company for 38 years. I've done all those kind of things. Bestseller, as my 20th book even says, bestseller is the beginning. Bestseller is a
yeah,
day one launch strategy. You're going to
yeah,
build on top of that. If you want a great house, you want a solid foundation. That's what bestseller is. But then beyond that, you want to have the things that are going to make the difference that only you can make. You got to transform that story into the credibility that commands attention. Willie, talk to us a little bit more about optimizing the best version of yourself.
Oh man, that's a good one. You definitely have to be optimistic in this vision, in this business with your vision. Once you define that vision, and that's really important before you get to this piece, because what I struggled with in the beginning pieces was I had to combine all of these different talents. Some of you have a lot of gifts and different passions, and I think it's important and essential to understand that when you define that vision and mission, right, and stick to that, you won't be all over the place, right? And I think that's important too. It's one thing to create value, but to make sure that value it best represents your vision and value, the value within the vision. And being optimistic, meaning, having the right mindset. You take that word mindset, we learned things over the years. You reset that mind, you're going to be constantly resetting and making adjustments and finding out what works and what doesn't work, and looking at certain numbers, and numbers. I was telling Steve before we got on here is that a wealthy gentleman, a wealthy friend of ours, he definitely told us that numbers tell us stories. No, you don't chase numbers, but numbers do matter with certain media. It does, and they're looking to see. Oh well, why did this song? You know, why did it? Who is 5 million streams on here, or 2 million streams, or 3 million, or 10 million, and that's attractive to it. But it really starts with taking action, gaining traction, and the attraction would be considered the minimum, but putting yourself in a position to be attractive to media, right? Because here's that thing. They're going to ask, well, why should we consider your client, or why should we consider doing a story on you? Well, you give them a reason. You make that noise right where you are. You prosper right where you are, and you keep compounding the compound effect, and you keep an optimistic mindset. There's going to be doors you may not, and that's the thing too, Steve. Uh, Once you put yourself in the position to be spotlighted, you have to understand that there's going to be, you're going to hit this sweet spot like a school of fish I was talking about. You remember that conversational
Mhm.
piece we talked about? It's like launching out, and you see the analytics on this dashboard in your boat, right? And you're launching out, and you're putting the bait in your bait. You have a hook. You have to have a hook, just like a song, and just like a book, the title, the hook, and you have your verses. And when you're pitching to media, and then you have people who know media, and you build these relationships, and you just start putting yourself more in that position, and that never ends, really. There's no one moment of victory, really. It's always being optimistic about what may look bad, and sometimes a no is a yes and a yes is a no, and I think that's where and then you optimize that motion. Once you get in motion and put yourself in position, you put it in optimization mode, and now you're on autopilot, and then you're going to have more opportunities than you can stand, and you got to weed out
Mhm.
which one is which. All media is not for you.
Yeah.
But just I think that's important to know too. That there's going to be some media that you may have to turn down, not burn bridges, but just say, well, that's simply not the right fit for our brand.
Right.
And I used to hear people say all media is good media, but that's another discussion. But yes,
Mhm.
be optimistic and optimize that vision and that mission, but don't lose sight, becoming can I say it, man? Let's be transparent here. Don't become a media whore either,
Mhm.
be attractive, but don't become a media prostitute. Just do
Right.
what's going to give you the best momentum, and that's what optimization is about. You put yourself in a position, and that's going to cause a ripple effect, right? You want to create that ripple effect, but and you transform that story, and you're going to constantly tweak things, and that's what optimization is about, and be optimistic about where you're heading with the vision,
Yeah.
you know?
It's so important. Um, you know, and I used to make fun of the concept elevator pitch because most of the time, most of our pitches are just too darn long. And it would have to be a really long elevator to get out, the 1 minute or the 3 minute or the whatever that we memorized. And that's why, my prompt at the end of this even is write down one thing that makes your story or your expertise unique. What is that powerful one thing that is about you? What can you
Yeah.
do? That's one of the things I love the most about TikTok and Instagram that I'm just discovering myself recently how powerfully it works. And that's when you hit that about 10-second mark. That's kind of the sweet spot on Instagram and TikTok. You can squeak up to about 30 seconds, and they tell you you've got a minute, but I can tell you by the time you get to that minute point, with a lot of people, you've lost eyeballs. 10 seconds, if you look at the analytics on your videos, if you've got that kind of stuff, you can see there are very few people that drop off quick enough to drop out on you in 10 seconds. So can you hit them with something punchy? So again, take a second, write down what is the one thing, what's the time when, or the thing that I do, or Renee, I know you're here, and I always remember the title of your book that we did together, and it always makes a person go, well, what's a man monster? And then it gives you earn the right from those phrases. I mean, if you think about it from titles of songs, Willie, you
Yeah.
give you give the song a title that people want to hear. You
Absolutely.
don't give it a 25,000 word essay on, how great this song's going to be. You're trying to
Right.
look for that one or two or three words, maybe five at the most, that just really pop. And so that's all
Absolutely.
what optimizing is about. Let's move on to impact because that's what you want to do, right? You want to make impact. You want to be like the rock thrown in the water that creates the waves going out away from it, and over again. Um,
Yeah.
every time you move forward, every step you take, it amplifies your authority and your influence. Every single thing you're doing is amplifying what you're doing. The
Yeah.
question is, I love this phrase. Willie, you're going to love this. I don't know if I've shared this one with you before or not. A good friend of mine uh, was actually working with one of our kids, but he's a bass player. That's how I knew him. He was teaching math to one of our kids because he was also a school teacher. And he goes, I hate the phrase practice makes perfect. And I was like, no, practice makes perfect. It's a great phrase. And he's like, no, it's not. He goes, it's the stupidest phrase ever. And I'm like, whoa, man, wow, hold on. You're teaching my kids here. I need to know what you're talking about. He goes, think about it. He goes, it doesn't matter how long you practice doing something wrong. You are never going to get to perfect by doing it
Right.
over and over and over and over and over again wrong. He goes, it's practicing
Yeah.
doing it right that gets you to perfection. And
Yeah.
so when we look at the steps that we're taking, the question, not even really question, but the reality is that we are amplifying exactly what we're putting out into the world. The
Yeah.
question is, are we putting something that's making an impact? Are
Yeah.
the ripples, are we throwing big rocks out into the world, into things that people need? Or are we just amplifying noise? Are we just out there just, like the Charlie Brown cartoons, where it was like, wah, 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 wah. So talk to us a little bit, Willie. How can we make an impact? Even if we've never been in media or if we've failed at it 1,000 times, what is the way to make an impact?
Wow, that's good stuff. I'm an advocate for prospering where you are. Impact is all about impact. Every move that we make, every breath that we take, every decision that we make. I believe John C. Maxwell has a quote that I like to endorse, and that is consistency compounds. And I took it and kind of flipped it and shared some of this in my book, my personal growth book, Never Stop Winning, Volume 1, Win Your Way, is that consistency multiplies. And I liken this to, impact, right? Focus on impact. And I like what you said. Is what you're providing, is it relevant to what's going on? Is it a service that no one else is providing? And I think that's how you impact media, because they're wanting to write about and talk about something that's unique, that's fresh, a service that's typically not being done.
And Willie, I want to
It,
jump in here
know?
because our prompt, I want to talk in more detail about what we're talking about here. Because I
Mhm.
want people, as we're talking in impact, to think about one specific media outlet that aligns with their vision that they'd love to be in.
Yeah,
And I mean, then I have you talk even in more detail to this. But one of the
yeah,
best pieces that I got was from Randy Becker. He's an artist. He's a screenwriter agent, and he teaches people now how to do it. And he said the problem is that as a writer's agent, I'm going to make 100 pitches often in a week. He goes, I know that about one out of every 100 pitches actually gets picked up by a major studio, Paramount or Warner
yeah,
Brothers or something like that. He goes, the thing about it is, he goes, if I'm doing 100 a week, I'm going to get one a week. He goes, but the people that are the writers, they're writing like one every 10 years, and waiting for that one to be the one in 100 that hits. He goes, you can get a one hit wonder, but the
yeah,
truth of the matter is that you need to do it. So you need to understand what media aligns with
yeah.
what your vision is. What are the things they're doing? And then what would you, if you got that minute with the president of that company, what is that one thing? So I want you guys to think about it. Well, Willie, you talk in a little bit more detail about some of those kind of connections that you've made that make such a massive impact.
Absolutely, that's good stuff. And speaking of the ripple effect and impact, I think we're all, whether it's via product or a song or a book, the idea, the end goal is to be impactful, right? When you say it's is to
Mhm.
be impactful, but I think it's more of a matter of the how. How can I provide such a service or such a song that's going to impact, the culture, right? The culture, and that's a pretty broad word. So essentially, the relationship I was talking about with the Leonard Skinner co-writer of Sweet Home Alabama, we leverage. I think it's about leveraging connections, and once you can impact one of those type of connections that has massive impact, it's connecting with other people who already have impact, and if you can impact them, it creates that domino effect. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? So
Absolutely.
here's an example, right? Stephen Rich, we impacted him with Sunshine with the Rain. And then I said, oh, okay, that's great. Then we decided, we took his advice about, I said, hey, we have a song, Puerto Rico wrote and produced and brought some people together. And I was really thinking about age groups in various artists. Like you have a boxer who's a four-time world Olympic champion. Then you have my daughter who was only 12 or 11 at the time. So that's another generation. Then you have another like my big sister Crystal who sang on that record as well. You have Champ's wife as well, but you have Crystal who was in did some major movies with LAPD type movies or whatever. CSI was making features and stuff. So we just brought people to bed. You got to really think strategically, right? So I figured like, hey, you know. If we're going to have various artists, we need to have the right artist for this particular song and the right people to push it. And I already knew that the Leonard Skinner guy who's a good friend, was going to give us some type of impact with his marketing and his marketability skill. So then in return, that impact led to another impactful individual, which was Tom Etsy, the first publicist that we hired with Permission Entertainment in the beginning pieces, right? And essentially, he was one of the best of the best. And I learned a lot from this guy. And, the list goes on and on. He let
Mhm.
Broadway world here. It's like, hey, this is the track record and build that resume and use and leverage those connections. So that's what I would say too. Leverage your connections and get with surround yourself around other impactful people. You know what I mean? Because
Absolutely. Well, and
yeah,
that's where the magic starts coming together in this voice framework.
mhm,
Impact and connection, making an impact and connecting they go hand in hand. That's part of why I went ahead and moved it on to the next frame, is
yeah,
because ultimately it boils down to this old phrase: people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care.
yeah,
In our authenticity is where we build trust. When we're willing to be vulnerable is when we become valuable. If we lead with care, if we let people know how much we care. I have a course that I've created that teaches people how to be an influencer. And the first piece of it, and I think I mentioned this at the beginning, but if I didn't say it to you, let me rephrase. Influencers about something who makes an impact. They're about people who make a difference in the world. I'm not talking about somebody who is willing to take off every item of clothing or do any other crazy thing just to get views, because that's going to be here today, gone tomorrow. I'm talking about truly impacting and connecting with people that builds your great big following. But the truth of the matter is that people connect with you when they know that you care about who they are. You make the relationships with them. And the biggest thing, and I've tested this out, and it's only about 1 out of 100 people that are willing to actually spend the time connecting with others to be able to then get the loyal followers who believe in what you're doing. And if you don't make that connection, you won't have that. And yet, when you do make that connection, you find yourself, and Willie's thrown around a lot of names. And, I mean, I remember being in a prayer circle with Carmen way back in the day. Um, and I mean, there was probably 100 people maybe in the audience then. And
Yeah.
then later, yeah, I still knew Carmen when he was selling out the Pontiac Silverdome. Um, and it's those early beginnings. A guy that I toured with ended up going on to being a 5-time Grammy Award winner, and he was touring with Michael W. Smith. And I just knew him as Brian. It was because it wasn't about what that person could do for me. It was about genuinely liking the person and pouring into them and creating a relationship that later on you turn around and you're like, oh, wow, look at the amazing stuff. I mean, the same thing's true with Willie and I. I mean, we
Yeah.
connected. He was brought to me. Lonnie said, hey, I got this guy and he wants you to market his book and make it a bestseller. I'm like, hey, yeah, no problem. That's what I do. I had no idea who Willie was. And
Yeah.
we had several different conversations. It was probably, oh my gosh, we probably talked back and forth for more than a year before we ever even knew that, both of us are pastors' kids and both of us started in the music industry and all those kind of things,
Yeah.
that just created the synergy that makes this available. Connection is so important. And I hope
Yeah.
that you see that. I hope you see how Willie just led right straight from the impact right into connecting.
Yeah.
Um, you've got people in your life right now that you can, want to, and should connect to. But what's your strategy for doing that? Willie, give us just one. I mean, I know there's 1,000 of them and we could spend hours talking to people, but give us one strategy on how to connect with with a person that you really want to connect to.
It's back to the 3 steps to witty that we mentioned. I definitely mentioned this in my book, Never Stop Witty, Volume 1, Win Your Way. Um, it's definitely connecting with the right people, but like becoming a magnet basically, and you'll know, if you're one who believes in the power of prayer and meditation, God will show you, and be attractive, and being attractive is being authentic, being genuine, being impactful and creating value and having some unique value that's not out there already. And once you can impact that one connection, like this same guy that I mentioned was the publicist at the time that pushed "We Love You Puerto Rico" to number 2 on Billboard in the top 200 charts, right? But more than the charts, it made him cry when he first heard the music, and then he came up with the idea for me to write another song during COVID, which is when everything took off. And you have to leverage those connections basically, and sometimes you go from one by one, right? And you guys are creating value. So I figured if we can impact her, and before you know it, you have a dream team. And and sometimes they're there for a season. You know, some connections are from afar, and some connections you'll keep with you. And I think
Absolutely.
yeah. So
Yeah.
take action, gain traction, and the attraction will come. Stay
Right.
true to the
Oh
vision,
yeah.
the mission, and your passion for
So
sure.
far, and I'm gonna even rewind here for a second. We talked about vision, optimizing, impact, and connecting. And we looked at, what is our vision? The clearer your vision becomes, the more your vision will propel you.
Yeah.
Then you can begin to optimize and position yourself for where you want to go to
Yeah.
make the impact that only you can make. And it's about that one person.
Yeah.
For the person who's different, who's you're going to make the difference in their life, that means everything. And
Yeah.
it doesn't matter if it's a million people, it's about that one person. It's about that little
Absolutely.
girl running down the beach, throwing the
Yeah.
sand, the sea stars into the ocean just as quickly as she could after a big storm. And the old man walked up to her and said, there's no way you can possibly save all of them. And she picks up the next one and she throws that starfish into the ocean. And she says, yes, but to that one, it made all the difference. That's impact. So that we
Yeah.
then can become and be people who are connecting. We
Yeah.
lead with care. We build trust. We show people how much we care. That allows us to go to the last letter in voice, and that's expand. Once
Yeah.
we're clear with our vision, once we are optimizing constantly who we are, and we're giving. If you need a rule of thumb, give at least 9 times for every one time you ask for anything in your social media, in all of your things. Look for ways that you can give today versus
Yeah.
ways that you can get.
That's
Givers
true.
will always receive,
That's
but
true.
takers will end up getting taken. What you
Yeah.
sow is what you're going to reap. What you put out there is what's going to happen. And then if you've really maximized those first four things, then it's just a matter of just expanding it, growing,
Yeah.
and you can get to beyond limits and leverage things that you never even imagined possible. Willie, talk
Absolutely.
about some of the ways that you've gone from the humble small beginnings in a pastor's house, possibly with dreams of stardom, but no reality of that in your life. Talk about those humble beginnings and where it's expanded to these days.
Oh my goodness, many humble beginnings. I'll say my turning point when I got off course with my vision and mission in life at one point, and it was the congruence, and it was like a tipping point, a turning point for me. And those things that I mentioned earlier, with the right connections and just saying I'm going to stay committed and grow with the flow. I'm known by that title, grow with the flow, and that is no matter how comfortable or uncomfortable I'm getting uncomfortable to get comfortable again, to get uncomfortable, and you begin to expand. As we said, we started off with our vision and mission being arts and entertainment. Then all of the awards start kicking in, and we start getting these accolades that we really didn't even sign up for. It was about, as you said, connecting with people, you know watching and hearing people cry, and the giving that you talked about. Giving comes back. It's more blessing to give than it is to receive. Free albums were given away prior to post PME. That got garnished millions of streams, right? And so we start expanding the vision. Don't be afraid to expand and build your team and compound. And here now we're able to, have a radio show that just got picked up by iHeart, and recently GQ Canada, and some more exciting things. And we get to speak to over 200 million listeners. But those humble beginnings started with one person, as you mentioned, Steve. It just we never divorced the why. This is a conversation I had with Dr. Forbes Riley on her show, is that you never divorce the why under any circumstances, no matter how rough and tough it gets. There's going to be bruises, there's going to be bumps, and growth is uncomfortable sometimes. Comfort zones, get out of that. You know what I mean? Don't get comfortable with a certain level. Be appreciative, but never be comfortable where you are. And be thankful, but always be willing to stretch yourself without stressing yourself, you know? And that's where you build that team, you expand your team, and you put people in positions to help you become better. You add value to your team, and and that's key too. The way to expand is to create value for the people that surround you and help them get to the next level, like Aaron, right? You know, on that last book we did, right, Steve? Speaking of expanding, well, it was an honor to become a 10-time #1 global best-selling author, but it was even more exciting for me to expand in such a way to help him get that credential and bring him on board with us in this book. And now he has that in his resume. So I think the more that we give and keep that kind of mindset, that kind of theology, that type of you know point of view is be unselfish. Know that your vision is always bigger than you. That's how you expand the vision. Know that it's bigger than you and put people in positions of power, and don't be intimidated. Our team, we're not intimidated by one another. That's how you expand. You build a dream team of people who all have impact themselves, and you collaborate, and then you can expand your own personal vision. I'm gonna leave with this. MLK said it best. He said, the better it is for all of us, is the better it is for us individually.
Mm. Yes.
That's how you expand. You see what I'm saying? Because it brings more value. It's not just about you getting on, as we were saying, and getting on in the industry. No, it's about putting other people in positions of power. It's a relay race, and you run and run and run, and you realize you just can't get there alone. There's no lone rangers, and you expand that conceptual idea of winning. No one wins championships alone. Kobe needed a Phil Jackson. Mahone needed a Andy Reid. Tom Brady needed a Coach Belichick. Every coach needed a coach, and every manager needs a manager, and every leader needs a leader, and every mentor needs a mentor. So we expand and we mastermind. And I think that's the most powerful thing, Steve, is that
Mhm.
the power of masterminds, getting around other people, and you guys complement, we're adding value to each other. And it's that collaboration over competition. You know what I'm saying? And you're your own competition. You're your only competition. You know who I compete with? I don't compete with anyone. I compete with myself.
Mhm.
Right? I'm constantly trying to become my best version every day. And that is to, when you add value to yourself, and then you add value to your inner circle of people. I'm looking forward to putting out more clients and creating more best-selling authors and more people in the media, and getting them on front covers of Forbes and GQ. You're not winning until you help others win on another level, in my
Mm.
opinion.
Absolutely.
That's expansion. That's legacy, right? You
Absolutely.
leverage
Yeah.
every opportunity to unlock your full potential and build your legacy that way. That way, God forbids, if something happened to you or me, we have other people in position who can carry our companies forward
Mm.
and our dreams
Legacy.
forward. Yeah,
Yeah. Make
sometimes
a legacy.
sometimes the dreams will outlive the dreamer, right? And then now you put that thing, and now you have people, because you've created so much value for others, they wouldn't dare let your vision die. They wouldn't dare allow your mission, your pure mission, to die.
Mm.
So I think that's important for people to know.
I
And
agree.
we live like that. That's the way we move. And the
It's
media
about,
love that. They love
yeah.
that.
Yeah, it's about
That's a,
creating lasting legacy, stepping
yes.
into your power to be the person that only you can be. In fact, I'd
Yeah.
like everybody to take a minute, close your eyes, and just envision yourself. And it doesn't matter. I mean, it could be on Broadway, on a movie screen, on stage, singing a song, or it could just be simply sitting down one on one with somebody. I know,
Yeah.
Debbie, I know you pour a lot into children and stories with them and stuff. And it could be that one precious soul, and even thinking of them, in the future, looking back and saying, I remember when Debbie did that, and I really encourage you, have that vision be so clear that you can touch it, taste it, feel it. You can close your eyes and immediately see it so that you can commit
Yeah.
to your vision. And
Yeah.
then you can identify just one small little action that you can take right now. I'm talking like this evening or by this time tomorrow at the very latest. What is a specific action you can take? And I'm going to go back to the phrase, People don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. Who is
Yeah.
somebody you can reach out to? And what is one thing that is the core of what you're passionate about that you can do to help them overcome your fears and take that step? That's what you need to do. That's what the voice framework is all about. Until you reach that one, until you take that first step, it
Yeah.
doesn't matter how long the marathon is. It all always starts with that first step,
Yeah.
and you can find yourself on the cover of, a book, whether it be, like Willie and Aaron and I did with that book. That happened to be my 35th book that came out on my birthday. It was so
Amazing.
exciting to be able to celebrate that. But I want you
Absolutely.
to know that now is your time for you to win your way. We started
Absolutely.
out there. We started out talking about the fact that winning isn't about needing to make somebody else lose. It's about knowing who you are
Yeah.
and then being the best you that you can be in this world. I
Yeah.
hope you can see that really, really clearly
Yeah.
because it's time for your voice to be heard. Are you ready to share your voice with the world? Willie and I have some really cool things available for you that we put
Absolutely.
together to help you share your voice with the world. Now, I happen to know both of you really well that are here. Renee, I know that you've got a bestseller and are working on a couple other books now. And Debbie, I know that we're right in the process and we're going to get yours done here real soon. Best-selling author. It's something I guarantee. It's something I know. In fact, Willie and I would love to invite everybody that's listening live or on the replay to be in one of our next upcoming Winning with Love books. This is a series of books. This
Well,
happens to be the first 10 people that were in book one. But Winning with
yeah.
Love is an ongoing mission for us. And we guarantee it. You rate your chapter, we'll make it a bestseller. Um, Willie mentioned, but it's important to note Willie, who is on the cover, the GQ cover I showed you earlier, Willie mentioned by name every single one of us that were in that book. Now, he didn't have to, but that's what he's doing with the media that he already has.
Yeah.
You're talking about the cover of GQ magazine. You're talking about the nearly 200,000 followers on Instagram. You can be mentioned by Willie. You can use the power of the over 4,500 best-selling authors that I've worked with, and you can be the next one.
Yeah.
And we would love to have you be a part of that.
Come and
Um,
join us. Yeah.
yeah.
Come on.
So we've put together a program, and we literally have tried to just think about everything you need to do to share your voice with the world. Um, and Willie, do you have anything you want to say about the slide before that I did, or this before I go into and explain to people exactly what we're, going to offer them today?
Oh man, I think you covered it. Yeah, man, I think it's important to know that we definitely we under promise and over deliver. That's our mindset. And
Yeah,
yeah, so
absolutely. So
absolutely.
here's the thing. You could do what we're telling you. You could leave this thing. I gave you the action step of doing that one thing in the next 24 hours minimum. I would say do it before the night gets away from you. Do it before your head lays on the pillow tonight. You could do that. And if you do that again the next day and again the next day, it will happen. But, success leaves clues. And whenever you can hitch your wagon to the train of people that have already done it, there's nothing you can't learn, but there's a lot of brilliance in just allowing people that have already learned it to kind of take you along with them for the ride. And so we
Yes.
want to give you ongoing, continued media coaching. You could
Yeah.
do it for a month. Absolutely, we're willing to take you in to our group and be part of our group for a month. But I can tell you from 38 years of marketing experience, you're going to need to put in a good solid 90 days minimum before
Oh
you're going to
yeah.
see any impact. And
Yeah.
worse than that is the minute you stop doing anything in marketing, you are
Hmm.
on a deep crash collision course towards zero again. And then you have to
Yeah.
start the engine all up. And
That's
within
true.
90 days, you'll be at total zero. And what we want to do is we put together a package to give you maximum visibility, exclusive promotional opportunities with, not only Willie and I, but other people that are in our sphere of influence. We have, to
Oh
use an
yeah.
old phrase, Rolodexes of folks. We have a digital Rolodex these days of folks,
Absolutely.
and we want to get you in front of them. We want to
Yeah.
have you know that pitch, know what to do, and be able
Yeah.
to go in front of the people. Um, so
Yeah.
that you can ongoingly be in this group and be trained. And because we know how cool it is, we want to actually give you not just a ticket to the event that we're putting together in July, but we want you to come as our special VIP guest.
Yeah.
I haven't inked the contract with him, but I'll give you an insider tip. I've actually talked to Matthew Knowles, Beyonce's dad. Him and I are
Absolutely.
good friends. And
Yeah.
Matthew's talking about being our keynote speaker the first night, but cooler than that, he's actually going to come on VIP day and just kind of hang out with the
Yeah.
VIPs that are in the room. It's going to be an opportunity for you to connect with people that are making a
Absolutely.
massive difference in the world. Now, Willie and I have
Absolutely.
done everything we can to make this as absolutely affordable as possible for you.
Oh
Okay.
yeah.
It's a $997 program. But and you can go to winyourwayworkshops.com and see all of the specifics and everything. But the truth of the matter is we don't want anybody to let money get in their way. We're here, we're both huge givers. And so we've done it so that we're going to actually allow you to pay $97 a month. Just $97. And like you said, if you decide at the end of the month you don't want to be part of it, you can drop out. Um, but what
Yeah.
we want to do with you is if you'll stick with us and you're still in that group, we're going to make you a VIP. If you're in the group for the next 5 months, you're going to be a VIP at the event. Over the course of those 5 months, we're not going to wait. We're talking about doing this next month. We're going to,
Yeah.
within this next month, meaning the next 30 days, not in March.
Absolutely.
Um,
Yeah.
we're going
Yeah.
to put you in, the second Winning with Love book. You're going to be part of that
Yeah.
collaboration and all the
Winning with Love
exposure.
2.0. Yeah.
Yeah. And all the people that are in book one are going to either be part of book two or promote book two along with
Yeah.
it. It's a growing community of people who are, reaching out and winning
Yeah.
with love and making the difference. And we
Absolutely.
really want you to be a part of it. Like I said, we've done everything we can. Sure,
Yeah.
I mean, if 997 works for you, you get a whole year. That means you get 2 months for free at the 997 price. Just as kind of a bonus for paying in full. But
Yeah.
you can pay every month for this whole entire next 12 months, $97 a month, and we're going to take you from where you are to places that if we told you now, you wouldn't believe us. And because Willie
Absolutely.
talked about under promising and
Absolutely.
over delivering, we're going to take
Absolutely.
you to places that are
Yeah.
cooler than you ever imagined. And doing
Yeah.
things that you can't even imagine. And
Yeah.
before you know it, you'll be on stage, in
Yeah.
workshops, doing master classes, on the cover of magazines, all those
Magazines, all
kind of
that.
things yourself.
Yeah.
But you need
Yeah.
to secure your spot today,
Yeah.
because there's only a limited number of people that we're going to let in at that price. This should be
Yeah.
easily
Discount.
easily a five or $10,000 group program.
Absolutely.
We've got people that are at that high level that are, clamoring to Willie and I to want to be part of it. But
Absolutely.
we want you to be a part of it. And so,
Yeah.
like I said, even just as little as $97,
Yeah.
because your voice, you in the spotlight, with
Your
you creating a
legacy.
legacy. That's what
Yeah.
we want for you so that
Yeah.
you do win your way.
Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
now's the time. Now's the time to go to winyourwayworkshops.com. Be
Yeah.
all that you can be. Go from wherever you are right now to the massive industry influencer in your industry as who
Yeah.
you are, as the person that you are. Do that today. Willie, give us some concluding thoughts before we end off this evening.
Awesome. Awesome. Good stuff, man. And thank you guys for definitely tuning in with me and Steve tonight. And this was merely a tip of the iceberg here. And I'm telling you, if we have discounted both of those programs, and the 97 a month and the 997, which I highly recommend you go that route. But you're going to get the juice, as we say, the sauce, the secret sauce. And this was typically, this was just a tip of the iceberg of what we went over tonight. And then, sure, it can help you get started. But if you would like to go deeper, I definitely encourage you and I recommend, highly recommend that you sign up with us and take the journey with us, man. Your voice matters. Your spotlight matters to us and your legacy, and more than that, your impact, your capacity to impact the nations and society, and particularly our country. So come on in, come on aboard, and thank you for tuning in. But as I said, this was just the tip of the iceberg, right? Right, Steve? Yeah, now we go
Absolutely.
we
Yeah.
go much deeper.
And we're going to meet with you on a regular basis every single month. We're promising you once a month. I can guarantee you, talk about over delivering. We're probably going to be doing something with you just about every week. We've got so many cool things we want to bring to you that, we'll probably fire hose you until you're like, hey, okay, let me breathe a little bit here. But, we want you in
Absolutely.
that group.
Yeah,
You're the
love to
people
see it.
that we
Yeah,
know are here to make the difference in the world, to
absolutely.
make the difference that only you can make. And yes,
Yeah,
absolutely win your way. So,
your
yeah, you go
way.
to Win Your Way workshops. All of those options are available for you. And we hope that you will. We prefer, sure, jump into the 997 and get 2 months for free. But, if 97 is where you're at, we want you a part of it. We want you with us. I'm so grateful
Absolutely.
for you guys being here tonight.
So grateful.
Um,
Thank you guys so much.